I've tried hundreds of whiskies this year, and in this video, I'm going to tell you my top whiskey of 2025 and a bunch of whiskies that didn't quite make it, but are also absolutely excellent. So if that interests you, hit like, hit subscribe, and come on in, get comfy, and this one's going to be good. It's very hard for a whiskey to be on this list. It has to be good value, available, and very, very tasty. A lot of you love this. Whenever I talk about something in that kind of the east side of my flavor map or on the flavor tree in that kind of rich and spiced area, when you want something that's like heavy on the sherry casks and a lot of those dried fruit notes and nuttiness and spice, this is one of the whiskeys you always talk about. The reason that I haven't really praised this whiskey a lot is I actually got a bottle quite a few years ago, and I historically was really not a fan, and actually it was one of my most disappointing whiskies. A lot of people's Whisky of the Year at the time, and it was the Glenallachie 12. This one was in the old like Flintstones font, but from a lot of you telling me that's your favorite like sherry cask whiskey, I thought, okay, look, I need to take another punt. And I do know they've changed owners. This one, I mean, it says Billy Walker on it, but it was when he just took over the distillery. So even though this is a 12-year-old, it wouldn't have been the spirit that he was in charge of. Probably just the like cask maturation. I don't know. I just really didn't get on with this. So the new one with the new design is this one here. When I talk about whiskey, there's kind of several things, right? There's value, how good does it taste, how available is it? There's a fourth premise I always like consider talking about, but I know a lot of you probably don't have hundreds of whiskies and stuff, but I like to call it reachability. So it comes to a Friday night or a Saturday night or someone's coming around. How often am I reaching for that whiskey? This previous Glenallachie, I wasn't reaching for. This one, I'm reaching for, and I'm going to finish this bottle probably before that one. Yeah, so this is exactly on my flavor cards. If you want to get one, link in the description, comes in a pack of 10. Go taste whiskey with your friends and family over this holiday season. It'll be fun. Dried fruits, red fruit, mulled wine. Yep, I think so. A little bit of chocolate there too. There's so many whiskies out there that I feel like, you know, people talk about, oh, it's not as good as it used to be. Back in the day, it used to be absolutely fantastic. This is the opposite. It is going in the opposite direction. The Glenallachies are getting better. I do recommend it, and honestly, this was definitely in the running for being my Whisky of the Year. But you know me, I like to be a little bit different. I have a few other whiskies I think I personally enjoy more. So we're going from a sherry bomb to something a bit more on that light, delicate end of things. And this is definitely in that kind of light fruity with the tiniest little bit of smoke. I kind of got a little bit insecure about this whiskey because I mentioned it on a live stream recently and how much I liked it. And both the guests were like, oh yeah, I mean, it's good, but we preferred one of the other releases. I don't know, maybe it is batchy, but I really like this whiskey. It's going to be from the King's Barn. So the one that a lot of people praised was the Dream to Dram, which I did have, but the one that's now their standard release is the TOOLKIT. Both of these use a mixture of ex-bourbon barrels and SDR barriques. Maybe what's interesting is the difference between Dream to Dram and this one is Dream to Dram uses first fill. But the TOOLKIT I really like, and I really like the bottle design, the texture, 46% unchill filtered, natural color, all on the label. It does say that this is longer maturation, but it doesn't say by how much. So I don't really know. So if you're into those spirit-forward whiskies like a Deanston, even like Kilchoman Maki Bay, or like a Bruichladdich Classic Laddie, this might be your jam. It's that classic kind of fruit and floral, citrus, orchard fruits mixed with some of those more malty notes, those cereal notes. I think it's a great whiskey. I enjoy it, but I'm keen to hear from you. Like, have you tried it yet? Or tell me what you think. But this next whiskey, I think if I was to ask, say 10 whiskey enthusiasts, this next whiskey, even though it's in my number 2 spot, I think 9 out of 10 whiskey enthusiasts would rate it their number 1. Now, before I get to the next one, I just want to say that most of you who watch my videos aren't subscribed. If you like these videos, you want to see more of them, the best way to support the channel, I mean, it's free. Hit subscribe, hit like. I appreciate you all watching my videos this year, and let's get to the next one. So this next whiskey is actually from Campbelltown, and kind of between 2021 and 2024, I feel like a lot of Campbelltown whiskies were unattainable, but in recent times, I'm seeing more and more of this whiskey on shelves, like just going in randomly. There's no ballot or anything. I can pick a bottle of this up off the shelf. I think that's fantastic because it means that I can talk about it on the channel without it being this sort of unicorn thing. And I know a lot of you probably can get your hands on it. Dramfaced even called this the best ex-bourbon dram they've ever reviewed. And I gotta agree. What I love about this whiskey is that it shows that the fruit and floral whiskeys doesn't always mean a light, delicate whiskey. You can have a heavy fruit and floral whiskey, and I don't think you can get a better example than from this one here. A lot of people love the sherry cask version. I think I just prefer the spirit forward bourbon cask one. It is the Kilkerran 8 bourbon cask matured. My one's bottled at 55.6%. It's kind of like green bananas and biscuits, and it's like an apple, but it's not kind of just an apple. It's like a pickled apple, almost like a cider. There's like charred lemons. There's this tropical note. But really, it's not so much the nose. I think for me, the best thing about this is the mouthfeel. It's a big, oily texture. Very thick. Fantastic whiskey. But let's jump on to my number one whiskey of the year. It's really hard to win Whiskey of the Year in these videos. There's so many good contenders that I tried this year. But before we get there, I do have a special mention, one that I think is fantastic, but also maybe one of the most controversial picks of any kind of Whiskey of the Year videos. Let's talk about that first. So this next whiskey, personally, I absolutely love. The biggest thing about it is that it has some extreme batch variation. So I tried this once at a bar and I was like, oh, I'm not sure about this. But then like on my Discord, on Instagram, you guys have been messaging me saying how good this whiskey is. And it gets put alongside some of those heavy funk kind of whiskies or more heavier whiskies like your Benromachs, your Craigellachties, your Springbanks and your Kilkerrans. So I thought, well, okay, let's try it again. Let's get a bottle. So I got the bottle, but with my bottle, I mean, I don't mind it. I actually quite enjoy it. I actually think it's quite a good whiskey. One of those whiskeys that you don't need to pour much and you can sit on for a long time. So what is it? It is going to be the Ben Nevis 10. Again, this is not my whiskey of the year. For those of you who know Yoichi or Miyagikyo, it's actually a Japanese owner, and there's this controversial thing where they were putting Ben Nevis into Japanese whiskeys. I don't think they can do that anymore. I think there has been some rule changes and stuff. This one is like one of the highest distilleries. It is 46%, unchill filtered, natural color, all on the bottle. And let's find out why so many people dislike this whiskey. So on the nose, this is definitely a challenging whiskey. It's heavy. It's not a beginner whiskey at all. It's intense. It reminds me of Craigellachties when I first got into it. There's a lot of spirit there. It's fruity. I think the one thing when I was trying to think about why a lot of people dislike it is this is very spirity, but it's weird, right? We've got a 10-year-old age statement. So the youngest kind of whiskey in here must be 10-year-old. But it feels a lot younger than that. It feels like a 4-year-old or a 5-year-old. So I don't know if that is because they're using second fill or third fill casks. By the way, that's like the pun on the channel. First fill whiskey is just talking about first fill whiskey. The first time you put whiskey into a barrel is your first fill. And sometimes when you're wanting to age whiskey for a long time, you don't want first fill, you want to age second fill. So if you're trying to make 20-year-old or 30-year-old whiskey, sometimes you want to start with a third fill or a second fill. But weirdly, I kind of want more of it. It's sort of got this heavy weirdness, salty minerality, waxiness. It's like baking spices, custard. In terms of like the peat level, it's a very lightly peated whiskey. It's not heavily peated. It's just like a little bit of peat. Really, the reason I can't make this my whiskey of the year is that I just think the batch variation is super extreme, but also I think this is a very personal whiskey. If I say this is my whiskey of the year, I think half of you probably will dislike it and half of you will absolutely love it. Apparently, there's a lot of independent bottlings that do the Ben Nevis, and I've had a few good ones. What I would say is that a lot of them go quite heavy on the sherry casks. I would go for one that's probably a little bit more restrained on like just being a sherry bomb, because I think the spirit is really interesting. But let's jump into my whiskey of the year. What was the whiskey this year that I thought just blew my mind? And for a channel that is talking about exploring, sharing and enjoying, they say it's for those who venture off the beaten track. So if you want to venture off the beaten track, keep watching for my whiskey of the year for 2025. So this was a really hard decision. I think a lot of these whiskies could have been my Whisky of the Year. I really enjoyed them, but as soon as I picked up this bottle, I enjoyed this way too much. The biggest thing about this actually is that the last 2 years I've done whiskies which are both smoky with a little bit of sherry influence. These whiskies, I hope are not just going to become my Whisky of the Year every year, but look, I really enjoyed this dram, and I enjoyed this version, which is a little bit more heavy on the sherry casks, and it's from a new distillery on Islay, and they use worm tubs. Apparently that makes the spirit heavy and stuff, but I've got a video coming out about worm tubs, and I think there's more to the story than just worm tubs equal kind of heavier whiskey. So this distillery is also owned by an independent bottler called Hunter Lang, and a lot of you might guess who it is based on that. And this year it's going to be the Ardnahoe Balsa, is that how you pronounce it? This whiskey, I am really enjoying. I really liked the Infinite Lock this year. I've talked about it lots of my videos this year. It's cool that like all the whiskies they're doing are similar to the Port Charlotte. They're coming out at 50%, but I find the price point of this is very good too. It did well at the online Scotch Whisky Awards this year. I don't think it was this bottle specifically. I just think this is a fantastic dram, and being my Whisky of the Year and coming up to Christmas, this might be the ultimate Christmas pour. So it's natural colour, it's unchill filtered, bottled at 50%. It's primarily from Oloroso sherry casks. It's got this like herby note, almost like cola, but a lot of that classic Islay peat with that briny, slightly tangy texture. If you dig deep, there's a little bit of pineapple, grapefruit, but there's just so much going on, right? Like I can keep going with the notes. There's chocolate, there's fig. I think for me, this might become a new perma-shelf. I'd love to actually put it up as with a side-by-side against the Kilchoman and Sinag. I think it is that good. One thing I think about this whiskey is it feels like it's Islay 2.0 with your Port Charlottes, your Kilchomans, and this. It feels like we're taking Islay whiskies to another level that are really made for the enthusiasts like you and me. It's phenomenal. It's sherry meets peat, and I love it. But I'd love to hear from you. What were your favorite whiskies this year? And I just want to say as well, thanks for all your support this year. As a lot of you know, it's been a kind of a tricky year for me this year. I think you guys have been absolutely awesome. All the comments, all the DMs, and supporting the channel. I appreciate you, and I hope you can explore, share, and enjoy over the holidays.